Hey, joyful wife. Thanks for joining me again. Let me show you how powerful your thoughts are. Imagine your husband comes home from work and walks right past you without saying hello. He goes straight for the bedroom door and closes the door. Now, watch what happens depending on what you think at that moment. So you have thought one, he's ignoring me. He doesn't care about me. I'm not important to him. The emotion that you're having is I'm hurt. I feel rejected. I feel angry. And the action that you take is you storm into the bedroom and you say something really sharp, or you just give him the cold shoulder the rest of the night. And then there's thought two. He must have had a really hard day. He probably needs a few minutes to decompress. And that emotion that thought brings is maybe some compassion or understanding. And then the action from that is you give him space and you check on him in about 5 minutes with gentleness and kindness. Then you have thought three, which is here we go again. Our marriage is falling apart. He's probably thinking about leaving me. And the emotion that you get from that is anxiety, fear, panic. And the action you take is you either become really clingy or you withdraw to protect yourself. You start putting up emotional walls and you become like ships in the night. You just pass each other. So it's the same situation. He did what he did. He walked in, he went to the room, he closed the door. But there are three completely different outcomes. The only thing that made a big difference between each one was the thought that you were having. This is why becoming the watcher of your thoughts is the most powerful skill you can develop. And I feel like I cannot harp this thought in. So what does it mean to be the watcher? Being the watcher means that you become aware of your thoughts instead of just automatically believing them. You are a person having thoughts. You are not the thought. So most of us go through life letting our thoughts run completely wild. We never really question them and we never examine them. We just accept them as truth or facts. But here's what the Bible says in 2 Corinthians, which we already talked about this last video, but I just want to stress it again, is we demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take it captive. We take captive every thought and we make it obedient to Christ. So, what does take captive every thought? Like, what is that you're learning to do? So, you're not suppressing them, you're not ignoring them, you're not pretending they don't exist, but you're capturing them, you're examining them, and you're choosing whether to keep them or to release them. So, thoughts versus facts. This is huge. I actually went to therapy for several years to learn the difference. When I learned this, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this whole time I've been believing everything that I've been thinking. Just because you think it does not make it true. So he doesn't care about me. That is a thought, not a fact. I always mess everything up. That is also a thought, not a fact. Our marriage is falling apart. Again, thought, not fact. He's going to leave me. Another thought, not a fact. Facts are observable, measurable, and provable. So he walked past me without saying hello. Fact. I yelled at him this morning. Fact. We haven't had a date night in 3 months. Fact. He said he would call his mother and he didn't. Fact. Can you see the difference? Facts are what happened. Thoughts are your interpretation or the story that you tell yourself about what happened. And here's the powerful part. You can't always change the fact, but you can always change your thoughts about the facts. So why do we believe our thoughts? And if thoughts aren't facts, then why do they feel so automatic and so believable? Well, because they feel true, they feel real, and they feel like facts. Like we think that what we observed is an automatic fact. When you think he doesn't care about me, your body responds as if it's true. Your heart starts racing, your chest tightens, your emotions flood. So it must be true because it feels true, right? No, not necessarily. Your feelings are real. Those are real, but the thoughts creating those feelings might not be true. This is why we really have to slow down and examine the thoughts instead of just reacting to them. So let me tell you what happens when you don't watch your thoughts. You create stories that aren't true, and then you react to those stories. You assume the worst about your husband, and then you treat him accordingly. You believe the lies about yourself, and then you live as if they're true. You can spiral into anxiety, resentment, and fear based on thoughts that might be completely false. So I spent years of my marriage believing thoughts like, he doesn't appreciate me, I'm not enough, he'd rather be anywhere but home with me, our marriage is mediocre at best. And I reacted to those thoughts. I was defensive or needy and clingy. I felt resentful, and I also was very distant. But when I started to examine those thoughts, I realized most of them weren't actually true. They were my interpretation, my fear, and my past wounds, especially from my childhood, that were popping through. And when I changed my thoughts, a lot of other things changed too. So not all thoughts are created equal. There are three types of thoughts that can cause most trouble in a marriage. There are mind reading thoughts. These are when you assume you know what your husband is thinking or feeling. Like, he thinks I'm annoying, he's mad at me, he doesn't want to be here, he's disappointed. Unless he has told you these things directly, you are making it up. You're mind reading and you're probably wrong. Then you have fortune telling thoughts. These are when you predict the future, and usually it comes from a place of negativity. This marriage is never going to get better. He is never going to change. We are going to end up divorced. It's always going to be this hard. And honestly, you don't know the future. You're fortune telling. And you're limiting your marriage with these predictions. And then the third one is all or nothing thoughts. These are when you use absolute language that's rarely accurate. So you would say, he always does this. He never listens. Everything is my fault. Nothing I do matters. Always, never, everything, nothing, really? These extremes are almost never true, but they feel true in the moment. So Romans 12:2 says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Transformed by the renewing of your mind, not by changing circumstances, not by changing your husband, but by renewing your mind. And then Philippians 4:8 says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things. God cares what we think about. He wants us to think about things that are true, things that are lovely, excellent things. Why? Because he knows that our thoughts shape our lives. Proverbs 23:7 says, for as he thinks in his heart, so is he. You really do become what you think about. For this video, I just want you to start noticing your thoughts. You don't have to change them. You don't have to judge them. You just notice them. Throughout the day, especially in moments of tension with your husband or really with anyone, pause and ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? Just bring awareness to your thought life. You might be really surprised about what you discover. What can you do to start noticing? You can start a thought journal, carry a small notebook, or even use your phone notes. And when you feel a strong emotion toward your husband or really anyone, pause and write down the thoughts that you were just having. Then practice that simple question. What am I thinking right now? Ask yourself this throughout the day often. Then begin to distinguish between thoughts and facts. When you catch yourself thinking something about your husband or your marriage or anyone, ask, is this a thought or a fact? If you had 10 people in the room and your husband walked in the room, they would all have different opinions. His mom is going to think different, his dad will think different, his brother, maybe sister, cousins, aunts, uncles. And then you or his children, you're all going to have different thoughts about him. So your thought about him is a thought and not a fact. Just remember, you're not stuck with whatever pops into your head. You can choose what you want to think about. And when you change what you think about, you change how you feel. And when you change how you feel, you change how you show up in life and how you act. And when you change how you act, your whole environment changes. I'm really excited for you to discover the freedom that comes from being the watcher of your thoughts.